I was flipping through some old photos on my phone one evening when I stumbled upon a picture that left my heart racing, not in a good way. It was a snapshot of my wife, Jessica, taken in an apartment that wasn't ours. The laughter in her eyes was unmistakable, and there was a man in the background, his arm casually draped over her shoulder. I didn't recognize him, and my gut twisted as I felt the all-too-familiar sting of betrayal creeping in. Let me backtrack a bit. Jessica and I had been married for 5 years. It had always been a whirlwind romance. We met in college, fell in love fast, and before I knew it, we were saying "I do" in front of family and friends. At first, things were perfect. We had our fair share of late-night talks, spontaneous weekend getaways, and the kind of intimacy that makes you feel like you're the only two people in the world. But lately, something had shifted. The spark seemed dimmed. She was often distracted, spending late nights at work, and her phone habits had changed. Texting under the table during dinner became a regular occurrence, and when I asked her about it, she dismissed me with a wave of her hand and a sharp, "You're being paranoid." That evening, I found myself sitting on the couch, my heart pounding as I examined the picture again. I remember feeling like I was in a fog, my mind racing through the implications of what I was seeing. I couldn't get the image of her and that man out of my head. I felt the weight of disbelief pressing down on me. I wasn't a jealous person, but this was different. There was tangible proof in front of me, and I was desperate to understand what had happened. The next day, I decided to confront her. I needed answers. When Jessica came home, she had that same bright smile on her face, the one that used to light up my world. But now it felt like a mask. I was pacing back and forth in our living room, trying to summon the right words, but nothing seemed adequate for the storm brewing inside me. "Jess, we need to talk," I said, my voice unsteady. She raised an eyebrow, already sensing something was off. I took a deep breath, holding up my phone. "What's this?" I demanded, showing her the photo. Her face went from confusion to annoyance in a heartbeat. "What does it matter? You're overreacting. That's just a friend from work." "Friend? Then why are you at his place, laughing, looking all cozy?" I hadn't meant to raise my voice, but I could feel anger seeping through my carefully constructed facade. "I've never been there," she shot back, her eyes flashing with indignation. "You're being ridiculous. Just because you saw a picture doesn't mean anything." In that moment, I felt a swell of frustration and anger. I couldn't believe her. She was lying right to my face. I thought about all the times I'd trusted her, all the times I stood by her side, and now she was trying to wiggle out of this with half-hearted excuses. "You expect me to just take your word for it?" I shot back. "That looks like a comfortable, intimate situation to me." Jessica rolled her eyes, a classic move of hers. "You're being so dramatic." "It's just a party photo. A party photo with a guy I do know. I'm not buying it." My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. Every denial she uttered only fueled my anger and hurt. I could feel the walls of our life together beginning to crack, and I had no idea how to patch them up. The confrontation went on, with her trying to twist the narrative to make me believe I was in the wrong for even questioning her. I felt like I was losing a part of myself with every lie she spun. The woman I loved was slipping away, buried under layers of deceit. By the end of the night, I sat alone in our bedroom, feeling hollow. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions: betrayal, confusion, anger. I didn't know how I'd cope with the possibility of losing my wife, the person I thought I knew so well. What was I going to do next? Should I confront her again? Should I investigate further? I needed clarity, and I knew I had to take control. The days that followed that explosive confrontation felt like a blur. Every time I saw Jessica, my heart sank. She was the same woman I had married, yet somehow she felt like a complete stranger. I noticed every little thing that reminded me of the betrayal: the way she laughed a bit too loudly, how her phone buzzed with notifications at all hours, and those late nights at the office that had become far too frequent. It felt like I was living in a suspense thriller, with every passing moment thickening the tension in our already strained relationship. I had to know the truth, so I decided to dig deeper. I started by observing Jessica's behavior closely. I took notes in my mind about the times she was vague or evasive. I even followed her one evening after she said she had a work dinner with some colleagues. My heart raced as I drove to the restaurant she had mentioned. As I parked nearby, I watched her walk inside, dressed elegantly, a spark of excitement in her step. But when I saw the guy from the photo enter shortly after, my stomach dropped. Any hope I had left that it was all innocent shattered like glass. They shared a table in a dim corner, and I fought the urge to storm inside and confront them right then and there. Instead, I sat in my car, watching as they laughed, and leaned in close, sharing what appeared to be intimate moments. It felt like a punch to the gut, each smile they exchanged serving as a cruel reminder of what I was losing. I couldn't shake the thought that I was being made a fool of, and that realization gnawed at me like a persistent itch. After what felt like an eternity, I decided to leave, my mind racing with fury and sadness. I had to approach this with a plan. I went home trying to calm myself, but all I could think about was how to expose her lies fully. I needed more than just a photo this time. I needed undeniable proof that would leave no room for her deceit. The next day, I began my investigation. I created a fake social media account, pretending to be someone else, and I started reaching out to mutual friends, probing for information about her and this guy. I learned his name was Eric, and they had known each other for a while. What I didn't expect was how freely people spoke about Jessica. Friends mentioned that she had been acting different lately. I could feel my heart sinking with each comment that confirmed my worst fears. One afternoon, I received a message from a friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in years who happened to be at the same bar where Jessica and Eric often went. "Hey man, I just wanted to let you know I saw Jessica with some guy last Friday. They looked pretty close," he wrote. I felt rage bubble within me, but I also felt a sense of empowerment. This was the information I needed to confront her once and for all. That evening, I decided it was time to put my plan into motion. I asked Jessica to sit down for another talk. She looked at me, a mix of annoyance and uncertainty in her eyes. I wasn't going to let her brush this off again. I had my evidence and I was ready to lay it all out on the table. "Jessica, we need to talk again. I've done some digging," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The last thing I wanted was to show weakness. I pulled out the messages from my friend and put my phone on the table between us. "You said you've never been to Eric place, but I have proof you've been hanging out with him. Friends have seen you two together." She scoffed, rolling her eyes as if dismissing my accusation. "You're going to take the word of a casual acquaintance. What kind of evidence is that?" "Evidence that shows you've been caught in your lies," I retorted, feeling my anger boiling over. "You think I'm stupid? I've seen how you act around him. I've seen the way you look at him. You think this is just going to blow over? You think I'll just sit here and pretend everything is fine?" Her face hardened, and for a moment I saw a flash of something, fear or guilt perhaps, but then it was back to defiance. "You're the one who's making this a bigger deal than it is. Maybe you should work on your own issues instead of trying to pin this on me." Her words cut deep, and I felt the sting of betrayal wash over me. I took a deep breath to regain composure, not wanting to give her that satisfaction. "You're lying." "I want the truth, Jessica. I deserve that much after everything we've built together." In that moment, I realized how deeply I had underestimated the emotional toll this had taken on me. My heart was heavy with sadness, and I felt like I was fighting a losing battle. I was losing the woman I loved, but I wasn't going to let her manipulate me any longer. I would confront her head-on and find out exactly where we stood. As she opened her mouth to respond, I braced myself for whatever excuse she was about to give. I could see the wheels turning in her head, but this time I wasn't backing down. I needed to hear her admit the truth, and I was ready for whatever came next. The silence in the room stretched like a taut wire as Jessica stared at me, her expression flickering between indignation and uncertainty. I could see she was weighing her options, likely calculating how much longer she could keep up the facade. The tension was palpable, and I felt like I was holding my breath, waiting for the dam to break. Finally, she let out a huff of annoyance and leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms defensively. "Fine, let's say I have hung out with Eric. Doesn't mean anything." The challenge in her voice was unmistakable, but I could see the way her eyes darted away, betraying her uncertainty. "Doesn't mean anything. You're spending time with some guy while lying to me about it. How can you say that? I felt the anger bubbling up again, but I fought to keep my voice steady. You think I'm just supposed to swallow that? She shook her head, her tone shifting to one of condescension. You're being overly dramatic. This is just a case of you being insecure. The way she dismissed my feelings made my blood boil. It was like she was trying to turn the tables, making me the villain in my own story. Insecure. I trusted you, Jessica. I believed in us. I didn't suspect anything until I found that photo. Now all I can think about is whether I've been living a lie. My voice cracked slightly and I hated how vulnerable I sounded. I had to hold it together. Whatever you think you know, you do. She shot back, her voice rising. You're making assumptions based on nothing but jealousy. This whole thing is ridiculous. I was at my breaking point. I couldn't believe she was still playing the victim. You know what? I'm done with your excuses. You've been lying and I deserve better than this. The words came out more forcefully than I intended, but it felt good to finally lay it all out on the table. Fine, she yelled, her frustration boiling over. If you don't trust me, then maybe this isn't working. Maybe we should just break up. The suggestion hit me like a slap in the face. I felt a whirlwind of emotions, anger, sadness, betrayal, but also a strange sense of clarity. If she really thought breaking up was the answer, maybe it was a sign that we were already too far gone. Is that really what you want? I asked, my voice quieter now, though my heart raced. You want to end this just like that? She looked taken aback, her bravado faltering for a moment. I didn't mean it like that. You just want to keep lying to me. I interrupted, my frustration spilling over. You want to pretend everything is okay, but this isn't just going to go away. Her eyes narrowed. You're right, but neither is our marriage. If you can't trust me, then why are we even together? I could feel the weight of our history pressing down on me. Our wedding, the life we built, the dreams we shared, was it all unraveling because of a few lies? The thought was almost unbearable. I want to trust you, Jess. I want to believe that this is just a misunderstanding. But right now I can't. I don't even know who you are anymore. My words hung heavy in the air, and I could see the walls she had built around herself beginning to crack. I'm still me, she snapped, her voice trembling slightly. I'm not some cheater. I wouldn't do that to you. Then why are you acting like one? I shot back. Why are you so keen to protect Eric instead of our marriage? You could have come clean, but you chose to hide. For a moment, her bravado slipped. I saw a flicker of regret in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by defiance. You don't understand anything, she yelled, her voice breaking. I'm not the bad guy. Here, you're making me feel like I'm the one who's at fault. The conversation spiraled into a back-and-forth, each of us hurling accusations like weapons. I felt like I was in a boxing ring, and every punch landed with a mix of anger and heartbreak. It didn't take long before I realized that this wasn't just about Eric anymore. This was about us and the foundation of trust that had crumbled beneath us. Eventually, the fight dwindled, and we fell into a heavy silence. I could feel the weight of my heart, the pain of betrayal, and the uncertainty of our future settling in around us. Jessica looked away, tears glistening in her eyes. It was a sight that twisted the knife deeper into my chest. Do you even care about what you've done? I asked quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. Do you care about us? Her silence spoke volumes. She looked lost, and for the first time I saw the cracks in her armor. Of course I care, she finally said, her voice fragile. But I don't know how to fix this. And just like that, I realized we were at a crossroads. I didn't want to throw away our marriage over her infidelity, but I also didn't want to stay in a relationship built on lies. Maybe we need some time apart, I suggested, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. Jessica's eyes widened, and I could see the fear flicker across her face. You can't be serious. You want to throw everything away. I needed her to understand that I wasn't giving up. I was trying to save what was left of us. I'm not throwing us away, Jess. I need to figure out what I want, and right now, I don't think we should be together until we can be honest with ourselves. She looked like she was about to protest, but the truth was there, hanging in the balance between us like a fragile thread. We needed to confront our emotions and decide what our next steps would be. As painful as it was, I felt like we had reached a tipping point. The decision had been made. There was no turning back now. I could either watch my marriage crumble or take the hard path of facing the truth. no matter how much it hurt. And that was where my journey began, learning to navigate the treacherous waters of betrayal, heartbreak, and the reality of our fractured love. The days that followed my decision to take a step back from our marriage were surreal. I moved into the guest room, and the emptiness of the space mirrored the hollow feeling inside me. I switched off my phone's notifications, trying to escape the barrage of messages from Jessica, who frantically tried to reach me, but I needed that distance. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, peering down at the abyss, unsure of what lay beneath. Jessica's initial reaction to my choice was one of shock and desperation. She pleaded with me to reconsider, to give our marriage another chance. Yet every time I looked into her eyes, I was reminded of the betrayal. I couldn't shake the image of her laughter with Eric, the way she had dismissed my feelings. I needed space to think, to rebuild my sense of self without the constant reminder of her infidelity. I spent my days immersed in work, trying to drown out the noise of my turmoil. At first, it was a distraction, a way to fill the void left by our fractured relationship. But as the hours turned into days, I found myself caught in a cycle of loneliness and despair. I missed the woman I had married, the laughter, the warmth, the late-night talks about our dreams. Yet I couldn't reconcile that with the woman who had betrayed my trust. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, I returned home and found Jessica sitting on the couch in the living room, her face puffy from crying. A wave of guilt washed over me, but I quickly pushed it down. I didn't owe her anything, not after what she had done. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice trembling. I hesitated but finally nodded, bracing myself for the conversation I hoped would give me clarity. As we sat across from each other, the tension in the air was thick. I could see the sadness etched on her face, but I also saw the determination in her eyes. "I know you're hurt," she began, her voice softening. "And I'm so sorry for everything. I made a terrible mistake, and I need you to understand that. Do you even understand what you've done?" I asked, my voice steady but laced with pain. "You've shattered my trust. It's not just a mistake, it's a choice you made repeatedly." I know, and I hate myself for it. I got caught up in something that I thought was harmless, but it spiraled out of control," she said, her eyes pleading for understanding. I had spent so much time contemplating what her words meant, but all I could feel was betrayal stealing the air from my lungs. "You thought it was harmless. You were lying to me every day." "That's not harmless, that's a betrayal of everything we built together. I never wanted to hurt you," she exclaimed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I didn't want it to go this far. I thought I could handle it, that it was just a fun escape. I was wrong, I see that now." Her admission hung in the air, heavy with regret, but it didn't change the impact of her actions. "You see it now. What about all those times you brushed off my concerns? What about the times you chose to keep secrets from me?" My voice cracked under the weight of my emotions. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her shoulders shaking. "I never wanted to lose you. Then why did you act like you didn't care?" I shot back, frustration boiling over again. Jessica took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. "I don't know. I've always struggled with commitment. I thought I could compartmentalize everything, my life with you and my indiscretions. I was wrong." The admission felt like a small crack in the walls she had built, but I wasn't ready to let my guard down completely. The hurt was still too fresh. "You have to understand, Jessica, this isn't something that just goes away. Even if I wanted to forgive you, we'd have to rebuild everything from the ground up." "I want to do that," she insisted, her voice shaking. "I'll do anything to fix this. I promise to be completely honest from now on. No more lies, no more secrets. Just us trying to find our way back." The sincerity in her eyes made my heart ache. I wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at me. What if I can't get over this? What if I can't trust you again? Her expression shifted to one of desperation. "Then we'll figure it out together. We can go to counseling. We can take it one day at a time. I love you and I want to fight for us." The words hung in the air, heavy with significance. Love was a powerful thing, but so was betrayal. I could feel the battle within me, the desire to hold on to the past clashing with the nagging fear of repeating the same mistakes. "I need time to think," I finally said, my voice steadier than I felt. "You've hurt me in a way I didn't think was possible, and I don't know if I can come back from that." "I understand," she replied, her voice breaking. But please know that I'm here, willing to do whatever it takes. Just don't give up on me yet." As I looked into her eyes, I saw a glimmer of the woman I had fallen in love with, but I also saw the scars of betrayal that would take time to heal. One thing was clear: the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges. I needed to figure out what I truly wanted, whether that was to fight for our marriage or cut my losses and walk away. I didn't have the answers yet, but I knew that with each passing day, I was one step closer to finding them. The journey of healing for both of us was only just beginning. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself living in a constant state of uncertainty. Jessica and I had fallen into a routine of quiet existence, moving through the motions as if we were actors in a play, each performing our parts without truly connecting. I stayed in the guest room, and the once vibrant atmosphere of our home felt muted, overshadowed by the weight of betrayal. I spent long hours at work, burying myself in projects to distract from the emotional turmoil that had become my new normal. But even in the midst of my busy days, my thoughts would inevitably drift back to Jessica, her tears, and the promises she had made. I often wondered if she truly understood the depth of the pain she had caused. One evening, as I was scrolling through my phone, I came across a post on social media. It was a picture of Jessica and Eric at a local bar, smiling together. The comment section was filled with friends tagging her, making jokes about their great chemistry. My heart dropped and a wave of nausea washed over me. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, the hurt fresh and raw all over again. I confronted Jessica about it that night. "Why didn't you tell me you were hanging out with him again?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger. "You promised complete honesty." Her eyes widened in shock. "I didn't think it was a big deal. It was just a group outing and I didn't want to set you off again." "A big deal after everything that's happened." I felt a fusion of rage and despair. "You don't get to decide what's a big deal and what's not. Your actions have consequences." She bit her lip, clearly torn between wanting to defend herself and the reality of my hurt. "I'm sorry, I really am. I'm trying to navigate this too. It's not easy for either of us." "Then, why do you keep putting me in this position?" I pressed, frustration spilling out. "Every time I try to trust you again, you do something that crushes that trust all over again." "Because I'm scared," she exclaimed, her voice rising. "I'm scared that this is all on me, that I'm the one who ruined everything. You don't think I regret what I did? I can't change the past, but I want to move forward." Moving forward means being honest and transparent. It doesn't mean keeping secrets or dancing around the truth. I felt the anger boiling inside me, but I also felt something else, a sadness that we had come to this point where we were fighting over the remnants of our relationship. "I know," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I want to be better. I want to earn your trust back, but I need you to meet me halfway. We can't keep going in circles like this. It's exhausting." I ran my hands through my hair, feeling the weight of it all pressing down on me. "Do you understand how exhausting it is for me too? I want to believe you, but every time you slip up, it feels like I'm being punched in the gut all over again." She looked at me, and for a moment I saw the vulnerability in her eyes, the fear of losing me. "I'm not perfect, and I know I've hurt you deeply, but I'm willing to do anything to make it right. Please, let's try to rebuild this together." As I looked into her eyes, I felt the flicker of hope battling against the darkness of betrayal. I wanted to believe in the possibility of healing, but I knew the road ahead would be steep and fraught with challenges. "I don't know if I can forgive you just yet, Jess," I admitted, my voice softened with the weight of the truth. "Just give me a chance," she pleaded, taking a step closer. "Let's go to counseling together. I want to be better for you, for us. I love you, and I don't want to lose that." I hesitated, weighing her words against the scars etched into my heart. The thought of walking away from the life we had built was terrifying, but so was the thought of continuing down this path filled with doubt and pain. "If we do this," I finally said, "we have to commit fully. No more secrets, no more lies. If I find out you're hiding something again, I don't know if I'll be able to come back from that. I promise I'll be completely open with you. I want this to work, I really do," she said, her voice earnest and filled with a blend of hope and desperation. Taking a deep breath, I realized I had to take a leap of faith. "Okay," I said, feeling a mix of apprehension and determination. "Let's try counseling. But I need to see real change. No more false promises." Jessica nodded, tears filling her eyes again, but this time they felt different, less like tears of desperation and more like a flicker of hope. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I won't let you down." As I watched her, I couldn't help but hope that maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild what had been lost. We made an appointment for counseling the following week, and as the days passed, a tentative sense of hope began to seep in. The journey ahead would not be easy, but I was willing to fight. For us, if she was willing to fight too. And so, we stepped into this uncertain path together, both terrified and hopeful, seeking to weave our lives back together, stitch by painful stitch. The journey was just beginning, but I could feel the possibility of healing glimmering on the horizon. Would it be enough to mend what had been broken? Only time would tell. The day of our first counseling session arrived, and I felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Jessica and I drove to the therapist's office in silence, the weight of our past hanging heavily between us. I could see her hands gripping the steering wheel, knuckles white, tension radiating from her every pore. I felt the same way. This was uncharted territory for both of us, and I wasn't sure what to expect. When we entered the therapist's office, I was surprised by the warmth of the space. Soft lighting, comfortable seating, and the faint scent of lavender made it feel safe. As we sat down, I took a deep breath. This was our chance to finally address everything that had been left unsaid, to confront our feelings and fears in a safe environment. The therapist introduced herself as Dr. Harris, and her calm demeanor immediately put me at ease. "I'm glad you both are here today. It takes courage to seek help, especially after experiencing such hurt in a relationship." As I glanced at Jessica, she looked vulnerable but determined. "We want to try to fix things," she said, her voice steady. "We both know there's a lot of work ahead of us." And that was the truth. Dr. Harris guided us through the session, encouraging us to openly share our feelings. I found myself pouring out my hurt and confusion, explaining how Jessica's betrayal had shattered my trust. It felt cathartic to finally voice everything I had bottled up inside, and I could see the pain in Jessica's eyes as she listened to my words. When it was her turn to speak, she opened up about her fears and insecurities, revealing how she had gotten caught up in a web of lies, thinking she could manage two lives without consequence. "I never wanted to hurt you, and I hate myself for what I did," she admitted, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I thought I could keep things separate, but I realize now how naive that was." The session went on, and as we continued to speak, I felt the walls around my heart beginning to crack just a little. I could see the genuine remorse in her eyes, and for the first time since everything had fallen apart, I felt the flicker of hope. After our first session, we committed to weekly meetings with Dr. Harris. It wasn't an overnight fix. There were days when the pain felt insurmountable, and nights when I lay awake, wrestling with my thoughts. But with each session, we began to peel back the layers of hurt and confusion that had built up between us. Jessica worked hard to earn back my trust. She made a conscious effort to be transparent, sharing her phone with me, checking in throughout the day, and making time for us to reconnect. Slowly, I started to ease up, allowing myself to believe in her commitment to change. One evening, as we sat together on the couch going through old photo albums, I found myself smiling at the memories. It was like looking at a different life, one that felt so far away yet so familiar. I glanced over at Jessica, and I realized that there was still love there buried beneath the pain. "Do you think we can find our way back?" she asked, her voice filled with hope. I paused, searching for the right words. "It's going to take time, Jess, but I think we can if we keep working at it. I want to believe in us again." She smiled through her tears, and in that moment everything felt a little lighter. We were both willing to fight for what we had lost, and that determination was a powerful force. As the months passed, we continued our counseling, and I began to see real change in Jessica. She was more open and vulnerable, sharing her thoughts and feelings without hesitation. We tackled hard conversations head-on, and while there were still moments of pain and doubt, we learned to communicate better and support one another in ways we hadn't before. I also took the time to work on myself. I sought therapy for my own feelings of inadequacy and betrayal, learning to navigate my emotions and understanding that healing was a journey, not a destination. I started focusing on my interests, reconnecting with friends, and investing in my own happiness. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I took her hand in mine. "I know we're not where we used to be, but I can feel us getting there," I said softly. "I'm willing to keep trying if you are." "I am," she replied, her eyes shining with sincerity. "I want to show you every day how much you mean to me, how much I've learned and grown through this process." In that moment, I realized that while we had both made mistakes, we were also learning and evolving as individuals and as a couple. The pain of the past would always be a part of our story, but it didn't have to define our future. As I looked out at the horizon, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. There would be challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I felt optimistic about our path. We were building something new together, one based on honesty, vulnerability, and trust. And that, I realized, was the foundation of a love that could withstand even the hardest storms. Through this journey, I learned that love isn't just a feeling, it's an action, a series of choices we make every day. And with each choice, we had the power to rebuild, to heal, and to embrace the beauty of second chances.